Here we go.
Hello Anthony, my name's Gary Judd. I'm a postman from Nottingham, or at least that's my job. I'd just like to say I'm a massive fan of Glass Onion. I'm always looking forward to new episodes, and the same can be said for your other podcasts, Life and Life Only. And my question today for you is, what is your opinion of John Lennon as a musician, and specifically as a guitarist, as I know you're a guitarist yourself? So what would be your favourite example of John Lennon's guitar playing on an album or a live recording? That could be intro, riff, rhythm playing, whatever you like. Okay, all the best. Speak to you soon. Thank you.
Oh, these people are lovely, eh?
Yeah.
They're so nice. Okay. Have you got any opinions about John Lennon as a guitarist?
You know, with the exception of when I hear the finger-picking stuff, like in Julia or something like that, or in the trio of guitar solos in a row at the end with Abbey Road, I tend not to pay much attention to his rhythm guitar playing. It seems to get lost in the soup for me, and I'm more paying attention to either the lead or the bass. So I can't really quantify what's great about it, or, I mean, it's like the old saying, I don't know what it is, but I know what I like, you know? So I can't really say this is better or greater. I'm talking about John and Christianity. But it's not my area of expertise. It's good what I hear, but you can speak more to this, I'm sure.
Well, just to talk about the end, if you actually look at the tab for that, what he's playing, it's just like the simplest thing in the world. But you can't argue with that tone, you know, that gut bucket tone. So I think a lot of it was that. Right, I do have a guitar, and I get lots of messages saying they like these guitar things I do. And I've run out of guitar lessons because I've only got like 5 tricks. But yeah, it's very weird. Like, when you listen to the records, you can hardly ever hear anything he's doing. Like when he's on acoustic, you know, Beatles for Sale, obviously, as you said, the finger-picking, Norwegian Wood and all that, you can hear him. But it's a bizarre thing in those early hits. It's like he's not there. It just kind of gets lost in this soup, as you said. But if you listen to the Star Club tapes, which I think, you know, people are talking about the future, someone will definitely clean those up. And they're getting cleaned up by fans, and people are doing amateur things. But you can hear all the way sort of... That's what he's doing on most of the songs. And it's not flashy by any means, but it is distinctive. And I'll just give a few examples. I want to hold your hand to the beginning. That's John Lennon, that bit.
Right.
Obviously, George is doing the twangy bits. So it's just very solid. It's never flashy, but anyone will tell you that guitar doesn't need to be flashy. I would say the absolute opposite end of the coin from John Lennon is someone like Joe Satriani, who has got technical ability, or Steve Vai. He's got technical ability that is just almost unfathomable. Or it's fathomable if you think that they do like 8-hour guitar scale workouts. Yeah, they're very, very clinical about it. But there's some little touches. All My Loving, you know, he does the main guitar bit on that.
Right.
I can't even play it. I'm going to play it in slow motion, basically. It's so it's triplets, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So it's So you're essentially playing 12 notes per bar, very fast. And he's not even playing the normal guitar chord positions. He's playing all these, John Lennon often played all these weird inversions, which made it even more distinctive. But what's amazing is that was the first song they played on the Ed Sullivan Show, February 64.
Right.
That's the first time anyone's seen them. And he's playing this like fiendishly difficult. And of course, that's why you don't hear him sing on the verses of All My Loving, because it's very, very difficult to do that. So he always did distinctive things. And there's another thing, when I saw her standing there, a lot of my listeners are actually guitarists. The main chord is E7. So if you play it as a C7 moved up, so it's all...
Normally you go to the A on the 5th fret, but he brings the same shape up to the 10th.
You need to mute a couple of strings. It's a bit fiddly. But I'm sure there's a video where he does that. I think it's almost like the Beatles ethos to always do things in a different way or try and make it distinctive. I'm Happy Just to Dance With You. Quite an underrated song. I really like that song, actually. And you could play it like a... But what he does is... Before this dance is through, I think I'll hold you down. He's creating something distinctive that really stands out. And then if you listen to any live versions, if you can't do that or watch them, you never see John playing the solo because all the solos are just horrendous. He always makes a total mess of that live. But on the record, you can't do that. Great. He plays this sort of chordal solo. It's like a mixture of chords and individual notes. And then on Long Tall Sally, did you know that he did the first solo on that?
Oh, does he?
Yeah, if you listen back to that, that sounds really good. And I think he kind of managed to do that live as well. And then Your Blues, I love this example of John Lennon's kind of minimalism / laziness. When you get to the solo, he just goes... The other guitars go... On the Rock and Roll Circus, they go... And then when the chord changes to A, he just carries on going. But someone made a point, Clapton's solo on Rock and Roll Circus is like obviously technically brilliant. But John Lennon, for some reason, you just remember that. And it's so lazy and it's so minimalist, but it's great in another way. And by the way, I'm going to plug some other people. Darren Murphy, you must have heard him on When They Was Fab.
Sure, of course.
I mean, brilliant. Darren Murphy did an episode on John Lennon as a guitarist. There's a guy called Mike Puccelli. I think Robert's had him on his show. He does videos. And then there's a brilliant channel I discovered called Ably House, ABLY. And they reproduce the songs perfectly live without the vocals. So you get this sort of instrumental versions. Wow. Yeah. Just a couple of other things. Norwegian Wood is obviously really good.
Sort of two-string thing, which kind of came indirectly from Chuck Berry, although this is very, very far from Chuck Berry.
But interesting, You've Got to Hide the Love Away. When I first learned this on the guitar, I had a very simple book, and it just said it was like... And then I discovered that, again, this is for the guitarist, if you put your fingers on third and pinky on the third fret of the top two strings,
it's more like... It's got that sustaining those two notes.
And a few years later, you get from that to...
And then 20 years after that, you get...
Again, I don't know if John Lennon originated that. Maybe someone had done it before him.
I was just going to say, what's funny is that, I mean, a lot of these examples show the Beatles as composers moving away from conventional rhythm and blues type chord changes and things. And I hear a lot of 50s pop and like you mentioned, those triplets and All My Loving, there's something similar in a Peggy Lee song. And I know that that is also a huge part of their musical background is that pre-rock and roll stuff. And I think that, pre-rock and roll, like music was a huge part of their background. So they're drawing from all of these things and, putting it all together. I don't even know if it was consciously in a sense like, oh, let's be clever and do this. I think it was more like, oh, remember that thing on that record I used to love? And why don't we put something like that on there? without even thinking, hey, this is kind of revolutionary. I keep thinking about McCartney's quote in Anthology where they talk about going to that minor and From Me to You, and how it was, it sort of harkened back to another era or another song. And I hear a lot of that. And I think about also She Loves You at the very end, where they came up with, yeah. And then George Martin was like, but that's on a bunch of Andrews Sisters records. That's corny. And they were like, well, it's not to us. So I think a lot of that was going on. I think part of their gift was lifting, I hate to say this because it sounds like I'm going to be disparaging blues and country music, but lifting it out of that purist idea of blues and country music and incorporating pop and I don't know what other word I could use for it, but some elements of jazz, things you hear in chord changes that were maybe common in show tunes and things like that. It's no secret that they were doing Till There Was You or Red Sails in the Sunset and things like that, that's in their repertoire. Anyway, I don't know if that really has anything to do with the guitar playing per se, but that was my little rant here.
We have the Travis picking, as it's called, that Donovan taught him in India. So I suppose the most famous examples, so you got Julia. And of course he would use that on many, many songs. And another famous one, when Mia Farrow's sister was meditating too much. And that utilizes another trick of sustaining the chord D and then moving the bass down. So obviously he mostly used that on his own songs. Look at Me, of course, from Plasticano. But he did use it on Ringo's song, Octopus's Garden. So.
And then the last example I was just going to give was I Found Out. So obviously if you've heard some of the Plasticano band, some of that's great guitar playing, again, very, very simple, but Ringo's drumming is very, very simple and it's just massively effective. So, and I Find Out it's actually just two chords. So.
Now that I showed you what I can do, don't take nobody's word. What should you do? And then the chorus. I found out. So it's got this jerky style with the damp strings. That's just A minor and G.